Okay, so this is our cat Harriet, and we're going to show you the muscles of the dorsal side. So right here we have the clavotrapezius, the neck muscle, and its function is to extend the head. And the origin, it connects to the occipital bone, which is about right here in the skull, and the insertion is the clavicle, which is down here, right there. And then we have the acromiotrapezius, which is this little flap right here. And the function of this muscle is to draw the scapula, which is the shoulder blade, to the medial line or the middle of the back. And the insertion is the scapula, and the origin is the posterior cervical and thoracic vertebrae, which would be right down here. Then we have the spinotrapezius, which is right here. And the function of that muscle is to draw the scapula dorsally. The insertion is also the scapula, and the origin is the posterior thoracic vertebrae.
So the spinal one would be right.
It's right here, the middle one. Then on the sides, these wings are called the latissimus dorsi, and their job is to pull the forearm backwards, like this. The insertion is the humerus, which is the bone that would be right here in the arm. And the origin is the mid-dorsal line of the posterior thoracic and lumbar vertebrae. Then we have the clavobrachialis, which is this top muscle on the arm right here. And this extends the head, and it turns the ulna, or the elbow, and flexes the elbow. And the insertion is the ulna, and the origin is the clavicle. Then we have the acromiodeltoid, which is inside right here. And that muscle abducts the humerus. The insertion is the proximal end of the humerus, and the origin is the scapula. And we have the spinodeltoid, which is this muscle right in here. You can see it better on this side. It's right here, this one. And that muscle also abducts the humerus. The insertion is the humerus, and the origin is the spine of the scapula.
Don't forget the triceps.
And then we have the triceps brachii, and right here is the long head. This is the lateral head, and inside you can see the medial head. And the triceps extend the forelimb. The insertion is the ulna, and the origin is the humerus and the scapula.
Me.
It's going. Okay, so this is our cat, Harriet, and I'm going to explain the dorsal side of the muscles. So this is the clavotrapezius, and that's this muscle right here, right there. And it extends the head, that's the function, and then the insertions is the clavicle, which is right down here. You can see it kind of right there, bone right there. And then the origin is the occipital bone, which is right here. Okay, and then the next muscle we have is the acromiotrapezius, which is this flap right here that's over the shoulder blade. Not this one, but this flap. And it draws the scapula to the medial line. That's the function. The insertion is the scapula, which is right here. And then the origin is the posterior cervical and thoracic vertebrae, which is the vertebrae right in here, right there. Okay, and then the next one we have is the spinal trapezius, which is this muscle right here. It's kind of cut funny because our cat is kind of a little dysfunctional. And it would be this muscle is better. It's this flap thing right there. That's the spinal trapezius, and it draws the scapula dorsally. The insertion is the scapula, which is right here. And the origin is the posterior thoracic vertebrae, which is, again, right there. Then we have the latissimus dorsi, which is this muscle. I kind of cut it off short, but there's a better one over here, which is this muscle right here. And it pulls forearm backwards, so it flexes the arm like that. The insertion is the humerus, and the origin is the mid-dorsal line of the posterior thoracic and lumbar region. Okay, and then the next muscle we have is the clavibraculus, which is right here on the arm, this muscle right here. And it extends the head and turns the ulna, which is the elbow, the head, and flexes the elbow. So, like that. The insertion is the elbow, right there. And then the origin is the clavicle, which is up here. Then we have the acromial deltoid, which is right here, this muscle. And the function is abducts the humerus, which is, abducts is going away, like that. And then the insertion is the proximal end of the humerus, and the origin is the scapula. Next we have the spinal deltoid, which is, it's right here, but there's a better view of the other side, which is this muscle right there. And it abducts the humerus, the insertion is the humerus, and the origin is the spine of the scapula. Next we have the triceps brachii, and there's 3 muscles that come with this. This would be the long head, which is underneath the humerus right there, and on top of it is the lateral, and inside is the medial right there.